G'day you cheeky dogs! My name's Margie and I'm an Aussie currently living in America. Today's video is going to be a Bluey Season 1 Episode 3? Possibly, breakdown of the episode Keepy Uppy. This may have been the first episode that you ever watched when Bluey came out. I know it was for myself living here over in America, but I absolutely adored this episode. It is one of my favorite Season 1 episodes as well. It holds a very special place in my heart. So I'm going to go into all the top 15 Easter eggs that I found in this episode that I want to share with you guys, as well as all these sort of Aussie references that are in there as well. Of course, before we do that, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell notifications down below. I love doing Bluey content and there's going to be a lot of it over the next few months as I travel back to Australia. I plan on doing some Brisbane Bluey content as well, so again, make sure hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Now, with all that being said, let's get into my top 15 Easter egg references, Aussie references that I found in this episode, Keepy Uppy. Now, the first one is our stereotypical Easter eggs. So we do have a long dog in this episode. It is in the toy room as the girls go in with their balloon. Our second Easter egg is, of course, our tennis ball. We get two of these in this one. There's a sticker of the tennis ball on the girls' bedside table that we see in the opening scene. And of course, we get the ongoing tennis ball in the background of the lounge room in the photo frame. And we also have our third stereotypical Easter egg of the pineapple, which is the pineapple jar also in that living room. Our second really cool Easter egg and sort of Brisbane Aussie reference is the hot air balloons that we see in that opening scene as well. Each of these hot air balloons is also based on actual hot air balloons that you can see in Brisbane. You just have to do a quick Google search to come up and see all the different types, but even I remember when I lived in Brisbane in the mornings being able to see these hot air balloons. And of course that works in really well, hot air balloons, Keepy Uppy, the whole game. So I love that they added in this Brisbane reference. Our third Easter egg is something that maybe you might not have noticed, but it's smoke detectors. We very rarely ever see the Bluey house, well, the roof of it, I guess. We always see, you know, from a person's eye point perspective. But in this episode, when the balloon is going up in the air with Chili, you can actually see that there are smoke detectors on the ceiling. A really cool little extra animated detail that I definitely think makes it in for the Easter eggs. Now, the title card, of course, comes up saying Keepy Uppy. And for those of you who don't know, Keepy Uppy is actually an official soccer term. And not surprisingly, it's about keeping a ball up in the air using either your hands or your feet or your head. So the term Keepy Uppy is also a very official sport term. The fifth Easter egg is kind of an animation error, but also something that changes over time. And that's in the bedroom where they see the girls' picture of Bluey and Bingo on their bedside table. In the original pilot, they actually had the wink for Bluey on the wrong side, but it did get changed in later episodes. But something really cool is that this photo actually changes over time and over the different seasons. So by the time we get to season 3, this is actually a totally different photo, proving that there is a continuation of time going on in the Blueyverse. Our sixth Easter egg, of course, is the fridge magnets. These change a little bit over time, but I love that in this shot, in the initial few episodes, they're focused on Bandit and Chili, which is why we see a B and a C. Over time, though, we will see this eventually spelling out blue. Now, one of the really iconic Aussie references in this is, of course, Chili saying that she's going to go and make brekkie. Brekkie is what us Aussies like to call breakfast because we like to shorten every word possible and just throw a Y on the end of it. If you'd like to learn how to speak Australian, I did actually make a whole video about it with my husband, who is American. It was a lot of fun, but this also came up a lot in news articles about how American kids are now speaking Australian words, and brekkie was one of the main ones. Our eighth Easter egg is just all of the toys. So as we see the girls go into their sort of play area, there's a bunch of toys all on the ground, and of course a lot of them have real life references. The first one is the frilled necked lizard that we can see, which is an actual Australian animal. The other one is the pink dolphin that also exists around Australia and Southeast Asia, and we later find out that her name is Grey Dancer. We see that Godzilla exists in the Bluey world with the Godzilla drawing on the ground, or Godzilla dog? Godzilla? Dogzilla. Dogzilla. Let's go with Dogzilla. Another really cool little reference is that the castle on the ground has a dog bone in it, so Dog Bone Castle, I would like to call that one. In the background, we see an airplane that looks a lot like the Australian Qantas airplane, but just with a dog symbol instead of the kangaroo. We also see a tea set that has all butterfly themes on it, which I definitely think belongs to Bingo, as we know that she is obsessed basically with bugs, and we see another reference to her love for bugs later on in this episode. And then we also see some other drawings on the ground, and one that almost looks a little bit like Sonic the Hedgehog, but has an orange mask and boots. I definitely don't think it's Bluey. I think it's a superhero that she's drawn. But if you know what it is, let me know in that comment section down below. Our ninth big Easter egg is the first ever introduction to anyone outside of the Healer family, and that is Lucky and Lucky's dad, whose name we don't find out in this episode, and we don't find out for a really long time. But in case you didn't know, his name is Pat. Pat the dog. Quite a funny little dog reference there, Ludo Studios. Now, Lucky is the first of any of Bluey's friends that we ever meet, and even though he's the first friend we ever meet, we never actually really see a lot more of him and Bluey interacting together. He's always just the neighbor. We do see, however, quite a lot of Lucky's dad, Pat, and even in this scene, he says some really iconic Australian lines, such as "no worries," which just means it's okay. We say that a lot in Australia, but also "I've done my hammy," which basically means I think I've just pulled a muscle in the back of my leg, my hamstring. I didn't realize that this wasn't really used as often overseas. Definitely as someone who grew up with doing a lot of sports in Australia, you hear this term a lot in like footy or in soccer, anything basically where you're running. But yeah, if you've done your hammy, it means you've done something to your hamstring. Our 10th really cool Easter egg, I guess, is also learning more about Lucky and his dad and how obsessed with sports they are. So you can see in their background there, they have like a practice golf ball, they've got some cones, they've got the iconic Australian cricket bat, as well as a football as well. So this just leads into us constantly seeing more and more sport references from Lucky's family. And as we know from the season 3 episode, The Decider, they are really big into their sports. Our next little Easter egg is when Bandit comes out using the umbrella and it's got the ladybugs on it. We know this belongs to Bingo. Again, Bingo loves bugs. We also see this umbrella pop up in a few other episodes, including in the episode Fruit Bat, where she uses it in the shower. We then get a quick shot of a very iconic Australian bird, the magpie. Again, we got a little bit more information about this magpie in season 3 in the episode Curry Quest. However, the magpie is a deadly Australian bird that will swoop down on your head and try and peck at your head. So I love that they included this Aussie animal though as well, even though it's incredibly dangerous. Our next Easter egg is something that I guess popped up a lot on Reddit, and people were wondering, why is it that the balloon is going to pop on the grass? And that's because the grass is buffalo grass. For those of you outside of maybe Queensland or just outside of Australia, in Queensland we tend to use buffalo grass a lot on the ground, and it is sharp and pointy. But the reason we use it is because it's drought resistant. We don't get a lot of rain in Australia in general, so usually using this type of grass is a lot easier to try and help and maintain. But it does mean that your balloons will pop the minute that it touches that grass. Our last Easter egg is that this was the first episode that actually aired in the US, not Magic Xylophone. So a lot of you, this might have been the very first episode that you watched, and then maybe you watched Magic Xylophone and then maybe Shadowlands. Eventually, of course, Disney ended up releasing the correct order of episodes and they put it on Disney+. But I think that's a really cool Easter egg to know that for people overseas, this might have been your first Bluey episode. So what would you guys give this episode out of 5 long dogs? For me, it's a 4 out of 5. The music in this episode is amazing. I think it is just so incredible, the music in general for Bluey, but this episode means a lot to my heart because it's also the first game that my son wanted to play from Bluey, and he always wants us to play this song in particular when we play this game. I also really love the message in this, that something good might not last a long time, but while it does last, it can be really amazing. So we see that at the start when Bluey is like, oh, I only have 1 balloon left. And then at the end, when Bandit apologizes and said, oh, did I make that a bit too much fun? Oh, I'm sorry, it's a tricky one to get right. But the girls then realize, yeah, but it was fun while it lasted. And even Lucky chimes in saying it was fun as well. So I love that lesson of, enjoy the moment while it's happening. And even if something ends, yeah, it doesn't mean that it's sad. It can still be a really positive experience that you remember. So definitely 4 out of 5 long dogs for me. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section down below. I will be going through all of season 1 and doing a top 15, 20, 10 Easter egg Aussie references, depending on how many there are in each episode. But until then, I have picked you out a few other videos that maybe you might like to watch, and I will see you cheeky dogs in another video. Mwah! Bye!